All right.
Hello everyone and welcome to my review for Final Fantasy 15. Now this is a game that a lot of people have been waiting for about 10 years now. The last full single-player Final Fantasy game was Final Fantasy 13, which debuted on the previous generation of consoles and eventually came to PC. But that one was definitely different than what we are seeing with Final Fantasy 15. Final Fantasy 15 is a lot more open world, like dramatically different than what 13 was, and that is a very good thing. I mean, you know, the worlds that we see in 15 are beautiful, they're expansive, you get to see massive creatures roaming around, that sort of thing. So that is very impressive, and it's been a very nice, fun start playing Final Fantasy 15. So let's get started with some of the good things that we see and go from there. Now, the first good thing about this game is the combat. You know, it's fluid. It goes in real time. You don't start combat in a loading screen, which was something that, for a game that came out as late as Final Fantasy 13 did, you know, there shouldn't have been loading screens for Final Fantasy 13. That was one thing that really turned me off from the game. It was just too slow, and Final Fantasy 15 has just blown away that sort of old, slow combat style. So in this one, you have several different new ways of, you know, fighting. Warp strikes, the general fighting, the ability to parry and dodge and that sort of thing. So it's very fast-paced, very fun. I will say that starting out in combat, it seemed a little weird at first, but just following a couple of the basic prompts that show up, I was able to fall right into it, and honestly, I've been having fun with it. So it's a great first start for the Final Fantasy game. Now, skill and stat upgrades in Final Fantasy 15 are dealt with through a tree called the Ascension Tree. So pretty much what this does is it gives a field kind of similar to Final Fantasy 12 in that you have sort of branches where you can expand both stats for yourself as well as your companions, and unlock different techniques for your companions that are useful in battle. So overall, this tree is, I'll give it props for being more sorted than the Final Fantasy XIV tree, which was a bit unwieldy at times. But overall, it's not a bad tree. There's nothing spectacular about the whole system. It's a little, in my opinion, lacking as far as variety, but it serves its purpose well. It's broken down easily, and overall it seems to work, so nothing bad to say about it. Now, 15 also has a really different way of going about the spell system. Instead of learning spells or buying them, you go about creating the spells from scratch. So you have the basic elements of fire, ice, and lightning, and then you can combine those with potions, elixirs, ingredients, that sort of thing, for some really interesting effects that overall puts this spell-making system in some ways on par with that from the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. So it's a really useful system, and I honestly like how they've gone about doing it. Now, as you can see right here, Noctis, the protagonist of the game, has the ability to summon forth magical fishing rods. Well, he can actually do that, but he can also summon various weapons and all that too. But anyways, Noctis is actually an amateur fisher, and to an extent that actually comes in handy in this game. You can catch fish for various quests. You can also catch fish that provide crafting ingredients for Ignis, one of the companions in the game, to create meals. Now, these meals are crafted at various camps, and they actually come in handy, providing some decent buffs that help you out. So, as far as the little mini games go, it can definitely be entertaining. Now, your main mode of transportation is actually through driving in this game, which is obviously different than other previous Final Fantasy games. In this one, the driving is somewhat on rails. You have the option of having Ignis drive for you through the first parts of the game, or you can take over after Chapter 2, I believe. But even when you take over, you're still somewhat limited to the rails. You can change directions on roadways, but you can't like go off-road or anything like that. The driving system it's not bad. It's not great one way or another. You can't exactly compare it to like, Grand Theft Auto's driving. But for what it does, it seems to do it pretty well. And it does allow you to fast travel to places that you've already been. So for that purpose, it's relatively useful. You only have to spend like 10 gil to fast travel. So that's a pretty decent addition. Beyond that, nothing too notable so far, at least in the first 5 or 6 hours. I know there are upgrades you can do for your car. I just haven't had the chance to really test those out yet. There's both useful upgrades as well as just visual. But other than that, driving is relatively useful. Overall, from my 5 or 6 hours of gameplay, I haven't had too many issues with the game. There has been one crash, but at least in comparison to other open world games like those from Bethesda, it's understandable. Certainly Skyrim and Fallout 4 have had their own spate of crashes, so I will at least give them a pass on that, for only having one in 6 hours. Beyond that, the game does take 30 minutes to complete installing after it reaches its playable state on the PS4. This is able to sort of be offset by the open combat arena that gives you access to the combat system and that sort of thing, gets you used to it, so that was a plus. Beyond that though, there is also a 9 gigabyte update they have to do for the game, so that is a negative because not everyone has the access to a decent bandwidth to do that upgrade in a decent amount of time. I remember when I had some low download speeds, and especially if you're doing it on an older PS4 with bad Wi-Fi, which the PS4 is known for, it will take a while. So if you have the opportunity to have your PS4 hooked up to an Ethernet while doing this update, it's definitely advisable. Beyond that, overall this game has been impressive so far. I like it. It's kept me engaged with the game, and the story has been good too. Implementing some of the things that you saw in the Kingsglaive movie that debuted about 2 months ago. So overall, I do enjoy it. The voice acting is very nice. As far as the English goes, I can't speak for the Japanese or any of the other languages since I don't know those. Other than that, I give this game a 9 out of 10. I look forward to playing it more and completing it. I don't imagine much will change, but if something does, I may release a separate video detailing those changes. So hope you enjoyed, and I will be leaving you with an excerpt from one of my battles with one of the larger creatures in a hunt from this game. So hope you enjoyed. If you like this video, please subscribe and comment below on any videos that you'd like to see as a Let's Play or a review.
big enough for you?
Turn the tide yet. Photo! Let me brighten your day! Nice one, Pronto.
It's nothing.
We're sorely up. Let's retreat. Watch yourself, Noct.
I know. We've got it on its last legs!
Let's put it out of its misery.
Swift and painful!